Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again in this YouTube astrological segment. I'm going to be talking about transit Black Moon Lilith, square opposition or inconjunct one's natal Venus. Now, when we're talking about transits that involve the Black Moon Lilith, they can be about trauma, negative manifestation of the sign of replacement, nefarious energy, even fixation and obsession. And when you have transit Black Moon Lilith basically making an adverse aspect to one's natal Venus, so I'm going to elaborate on that. When I say basically adverse aspect, okay, squares and oppositions in astrology, of course, those aspects are negative and adverse. Now, the inconjunct, though, is neutral, but a neutral aspect can have good and bad qualities, and I'm coupled with the fact that an inconjunct can often require an adjustment or transition, and that in turn can cause some exasperation and tension. So basically, collectively, I do see this as an adverse transit. But anyway, when you have the transit, or the Black Moon Lilith, basically making an adverse aspect to one's natal Venus, while it may manifest in trauma, the negative manifestation of the placement, nefarious energy, fixation, and obsession, these things that in it may conflict with love and your enjoyment at this time. If you're dealing, with some, negative energy, let's say, you're dealing, let's say, the transit, Black Moon Lilith is in Scorpio in the fourth house, you might be dealing with very manipulative, revengeful family member, someone you're close to home with. It could even be the less dominant parent, which is often the mother in some cases. Now, the thing is, and those things might, naturally, that can conflict with one's their enjoyment and things they love to do, and even connections with people that they love, people you may be enamored with. But I mean, I understand those things could happen regardless of transits, but it may be more intensified in this transit as opposed to many others. Now, anyway, um, in the things, your relationships too are connected with Venus, and it's not, just about, significant other or marriage partner, romantic partner, what have you. It could also be significant friendships. And the thing is, it's important to be careful to guard against being overly obsessed or fixated with these people, at this time. And remember, it's always good to have some balance in your life, whether you have Libra prominent in your chart or not. But the thing is, we can't, obsession, with things, of course, can make us oblivious, practically oblivious to other things, and that might need priority. And the thing is, or even people that you're involved in relationships with, those people, or your significant friendships, those people might be expressing, might be more, obsessed or fixated with doing things with you at this time, more so than usual. And also, too, obviously, if you're dealing with some trauma, whether it may be physical or emotional trauma, that can conflict with these activities with these people at this time. Now, the Black Moon Lilith, okay, well, first, I'm sorry, well, I say the Venus, anatomically speaking, is connected with the throat, the neck, the lower back, kidneys, and the thyroid. And the thing is, these things might, there may be more suffering at this time with these issues. If you do have any of these problems anyway, those things they could be exacerbated at this time if you're dealing with some other, physical trauma, or it could even be emotional trauma or abuse that you're contending with. Those things, of course, can make even something on an emotional level you're dealing with that's negative. It could be where it makes, the physical related matters could make that worse, at this time. Or at least trying to cope with them could make it worse at this time. And those are, and in some cases, you can have one physical related matter exacerbate another one, and that could have, there's a greater propensity for that to happen at this time, more so than with most transits. And the thing about this too is that also Venus is associated with peace and tranquility. And naturally, if you're dealing with there's some nefarious energy that you're trying to cope with at this time, it might be something where naturally that's going to challenge, your peaceful state of being at this time. And it could be, if this transit is in Capricorn and or the 10th house, it could be something that's affecting your reputation or public image. It could be some slander. Say if the transit is in Black Moon Lilith is in Gemini in the 10th house, it could be somebody that might be slandering you and causing problems for your reputation, your public image. And it could be notoriety for all the wrong reasons. And naturally, dealing with things like this can cause disruption to your own your peaceful state of being at this time. And the thing too is, or say if you have this transit of the Black Moon Lilith, say you have it in Scorpio in the 12th house, it could be some, the 12th house is unseen foes, and Scorpio, I would say, can be connected with stalking because of the obsessive energy associated with it. And it could be somebody might be a situation where you may be stalked in some isolated cases, and that naturally is going to affect your your peaceful state of being at this time, your tranquility and peace of mind. Now, another thing too, Venus is about art as well. So if you're involved in any artistic endeavors, obviously, I mean, if you're dealing with any kind of negative energy at this time, again, the Black Moon Lilith is associated with the negative manifestation of the placement. It can be where it might be harder to concentrate on things of an artistic nature. And it's interesting how art can have some little correlation with peace, because if you're doing something if you're an artistic venture, then generally you need your peace and sometimes quiet, I would say, as well, in many instances, to fully concentrate on it. It's like no different than working on a lot of other projects, whether it's writing or something different, whatever it might be. It's and that is where you could the negative energy that's associated with the Black Moon Lilith can cause a challenge for this at this time. Now, Venus is also about money as well, as connected with money, and guard against becoming overly obsessed or fixated with making money at this time. If you have enough and you're getting by and you're just trying, there's no point being greedy or avaricious, especially if you have like the Venus and say your natal Venus is in Taurus. Venus may be in its dignity in Taurus, but it's at the same time even planets that are in dignity can have negativity connected with them, negative qualities, and Venus in Taurus can naturally be in negative manifestation, can be avaricious and greedy. If I'm not mistaken, you have to check and confer this on the internet, but that guy who was involved in that Ponzi scheme, was it Bernie Madoff? I think he had his Venus in Taurus, if I'm not mistaken. He was a Taurus. You'd have to go check, confer that on the internet. I'm pretty sure his natal Venus was in Taurus. But anyway, another thing is that Venus is about our possessions as well. So it's important to guard against, our, being overly, protective of them, and worrying possessions to death at this time, and being overly obsessed with them. And, there's often more important things than our possessions. At the same time, it can be, since Black Moon Lilith is negative energy, it might be in some isolated cases where you could be victimized, where possessions may be stolen at this time as well. It could be somebody that's been maybe an enemy of yours, or somebody that maybe there's been robbery in your area previously, and it might be somebody that is seen as an enemy at this time, and it could be where you have to be a little more prudent and careful regarding your belongings at this time, more so than usual. And Venus is also connected with our resources as well. So, again, you go back to the overly obsessed or fixated energy that can be connected with this at this time. It might be, You might feel at this time, if you're dealing with some physical trauma or emotional trauma, you might be a situation where you're wondering if do you have the resources available that you're going to be able to deal and cope with this. Hold on a moment, people. Sorry about that, I'm back. But anyway, Venus is also about our values. So it might be a time where it may be harder to value. I mean, Black Moon Lilith can be connected with people that are prominent in our lives, and people that have played a provocative role in our lives, and maybe it's more difficult to value these people at this time as well. And Venus is also connected with self-worth and self-esteem. So also too, it might be some situation, whether it's on a physical or an emotional level, something traumatic might be negatively impacting how you feel about yourself. Naturally, if you're dealing with some physical injury and it's inhibiting you somehow, that could bring somebody down and make them feel less worthy at this time. And just guard against that, because if you're dealing with physical related matter, there's not much you can do. If it's something that's inhibiting you physically, it has nothing to do with the person's character. The thing too is Venus is also about lawsuits and legalities. So if you're having to deal with any lawsuit, whether it's one against you or whether it's one that you started, initiated, these things might be causing more suffering, whether it's just simply being more worrisome, being more anxious, or what have you. At this time, it might be causing more stress, more so than usual. If you have say if you have the Venus and natal Venus and Scorpio enter the 8th house, it could be something over insurance or tax related issue, or maybe it's over a will, maybe it's contesting a will, as some examples, or a shared resources situation. Now another thing too, Venus is also about negotiation. So you might, it could be a time where you might be overly obsessed with maybe constantly wanting to negotiate or try to find compromise somehow, when the reality may be that it might not be available at this point in time. And it could be where, or it might be somebody that has been a thorn in your side, has been a powerful enemy for some time. Might be somebody that you may not be able to negotiate with if you're trying to find a resolution to a contentious situation with somebody. Now another way this transit may manifest, you may be overly fixated with things that you enjoy and love. Now let's say, for example, if the natal Venus is in Aries, it could be perhaps combat sports, adventure. It could be playing the volatile, violent sports like football is another example. Could be welding or carpentry is some other examples. Now it may be more difficult to keep what you want suppressed from lovers, from significant friendships. What you really want suppressed and don't want to come out of the closet, so to speak, is connected with the Black Moon Lilith, and of course Venus is associated with lovers and significant friendships. Now let's say, for example, if the transit Black Moon Lilith is in Libra in the 10th house, it could be something where maybe you have just ingratiated yourself, or expressing superficial charm, which could be Libra, in order to improve the social status and your stature in life, which is the 10th house. Now also to trauma, which is connected with the Black Moon Lilith, may adversely affect making money, which is Venus. Now if Venus is in Taurus, for example, in the 5th house, it could be doing something with banking, finance, geology, architecture, agriculture, and it may be something you strongly enjoy, which is the 5th house. Now also too, people that are prominent in your life that may be playing a provocative role in it, which is the Black Moon Lilith, may conflict with your peace in your artistic endeavors at this time. If Venus is in Pisces, it could be doing something with abstract art or fantasy art at this time, or it may simply be might be, just, loafing basically. If it's in the 11th house, it could be loafing and relaxing with friends, and it could be that other people prominent in your life scheme may be causing a challenge for this time, or it could be some enemy that you've had to have to deal with. And anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.